Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to try to tackle some things that I know you've been curious about. Natural language processing. NLP.
NLP.
You're fascinated, and so are we, by how computers are starting to understand human language and even maybe the funnier side of it. Imagine a world where machines not only get our jokes,
Right.
but maybe even write the next, blockbuster comedy.
Yeah, that future might be a bit off. I mean, but
Ah.
NLP is already powering a lot of the things that you use every day. You know, like when you're using a search engine and it feels like it's reading your mind.
Yeah.
Or those customer service chatbots, you know, the ones that
That
can be
are-
frustrating sometimes. But definitely built on NLP principle.
Yeah, okay, so it's not quite like robot stand-up yet, but it's already here. But teaching a computer sarcasm, or like the difference between, bear, the animal,
Yeah.
and, like a large human,
Yeah.
that's got to be tricky.
It is complex. NLP is basically trying to bridge this huge gap between how we communicate
Right.
and then the very literal world of computer code.
Mhm.
So getting machines to understand meaning, intent, even humor.
Yeah,
It's almost like teaching them a foreign language,
okay.
but one that keeps changing its rules.
Oh, so no Rosetta Stone for robot humor then.
No.
How do they even begin to tackle this?
Well, there are a few different approaches, and each one's kind of a different philosophy of teaching. Way back when they started with something called rule-based systems.
Okay.
So you can picture those early chatbots with their super limited responses.
Yeah.
Programmers basically tried to hard code every single rule of grammar and vocabulary.
Yeah, I remember those. It's like you ask it a question and it would just spit out something totally canned and irrelevant.
Exactly.
Like trying to teach a robot to dance by giving it an instruction manual.
Exactly.
Good for a basic two-step, but
Right.
no moonwalking.
Exactly. Human language is just too messy and full of exceptions for that to work. So then along came statistical NLP. The idea was to analyze huge amounts of data, like books and articles,
Right.
to try to find patterns in how we actually use language.
Mhm.
So instead of these rigid rules, it's about probabilities and recognizing which words tend to go together.
So like giving the robot tons of dance videos to learn from instead of just the steps.
Yes, exactly.
But even then, language is so nuanced.
And that is where the real rock star comes in, deep learning.
Uh-oh.
This uses something called neural networks, which are kind of inspired by how our own brains work.
Wow.
These networks can analyze insane amounts of data, picking up on subtleties that even humans might miss. It's how those translation apps have gotten so good lately.
Yeah.
You know, they're not perfect, but they can handle slang and even idioms now.
Wow. Neural networks. That sounds intense.
It is.
So we're basically building computer brains to understand our human brains.
Kind of, yeah.
Is that why my phone seems to know what I'm thinking sometimes?
Well, not quite mind reading yet, but you're getting the idea. And the fact that these neural networks can even pick up on humor
Right.
is a pretty good sign that they're getting closer to understanding how we think.
That's where it starts to feel like science fiction.
It does!
All this fancy tech, what is it actually doing out in the real world?
Yeah.
Besides, powering those voice assistants that sometimes give hilariously wrong answers,
Right. You might be surprised how much NLP is already a part of your daily life. Think about it.
Okay.
You know those spam filters that save our sanity?
Yes.
The voice assistants like Siri or Alexa, they're all powered by NLP,
Right.
trying to decipher what we really mean.
Oh, and those online translators.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not perfect,
Right.
but pretty amazing when you think about how many languages there are in the world.
Absolutely. But it goes even deeper than that. Imagine algorithms in finance scanning news and social media to make lightning-fast trading decisions.
Wow.
Hopefully they're funnier than those Wall Street bets memes, though.
Oh, algorithms playing the stock market.
Yeah.
That's a comedy routine I would watch.
Yeah.
But seriously, it sounds like NLP is being used for some pretty important stuff, too.
It is. Think about healthcare. NLP can sift through mountains of medical research to help doctors diagnose and treat patients faster. Hopefully, it doesn't start writing prescriptions based on stand-up comedy routines, though.
Okay, now that would be a deep dive into the side effects I would not want to be a
Right.
part of.
Yeah,
But you're right. The potential is huge.
it is.
So walk me through this a bit. How does this magic actually happen? We're turning words into actions and emotions
Right.
and even jokes.
It is complex, but let's break it down. Imagine a computer trying to understand a joke. First, it has to clean up all the messy human language we throw at it.
Right.
Think about all the ums and the likes.
Oh, yeah.
Unnecessary words. Computers need things streamlined.
Right.
That's called text pre-processing.
So it's like simplifying the recipe before we feed it to the computer chef.
Yes.
Getting rid of all the extra ingredients that muddy the flavor.
Perfect analogy.
Right.
And once the text is clean, we've got to turn words into something a computer can understand. Numbers. That's called feature extraction.
Okay.
Think of it like a secret code where each word gets its own numerical representation.
A secret code, hopefully. Funnier than binary.
Hopefully.
But how does the computer know which numbers mean what?
That's where the real learning happens. Model training.
Okay.
We feed the computer tons and tons of data, teaching it patterns and relationships.
Oh, wow.
Like showing it a million knock-knock jokes.
Okay.
So it can finally understand the difference between a pun and a dad joke.
So it's like comedy boot camp for computers.
Yeah, kind of.
But what if we accidentally teach it all dad jokes? It'll be hilarious, but utterly useless for anything else.
You're hitting on a crucial point. The data that we use for training is super important. Any biases in that data will show up in how that NLP system behaves.
Right.
So yeah, a computer trained only on puns might not be the best legal advisor.
That makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
But even with the best data, human language is so slippery.
It is.
How can you possibly teach a computer something as subjective as sarcasm?
That's one of the biggest challenges in NLP, understanding things like sarcasm, tone, and intent. It's like that time you texted, "Yeah, great,"
Oh, yeah.
and your friend thought you were genuinely happy when you were actually annoyed.
Oh, the classic texting miscommunication.
Exactly.
It's like trying to teach a robot to read between the lines, which even we struggle with sometimes.
Exactly. And then you've got the internet constantly churning out new words and slang.
Oh, yeah.
NLP has to be constantly learning and evolving, or it'll be stuck in like the digital equivalent of the Stone Age.
So it's like this endless game of catch-up
It is.
between NLP and the internet's like linguistic creativity. No wonder it's such a challenging field.
It is challenging, but that's what makes it so exciting.
Right.
And the potential payoff is huge. Imagine a world where we can communicate seamlessly with machines.
Yeah.
Where they understand not just our words, but our humor, our emotions, our intent.
That would be a game changer.
It would be?
But before we get too carried away with the possibilities, let's dive into some of the real-world applications you mentioned. You said NLP is already being used in fields like finance and healthcare.
It is.
Okay.
And it's being used in ways that are both practical and, dare I say, entertaining.
I'm intrigued. Let's hear about some of these NLP use cases that are making the world a more efficient and hopefully funnier place.
Let's do it. Okay, so picture this. You're a high-powered stockbroker making split-second decisions based on market trends.
Okay.
But instead of staring at charts all day, you have this AI assistant powered by NLP,
Right.
constantly scanning news articles, social media, even financial reports.
Whoa. So it's like having a superpowered research team that never sleeps. But can it tell a bull market from a bear market without making a dad joke?
Well, hopefully the jokes are kept to a minimum. But the point is, NLP can process information at a scale and speed that humans just can't match. It can identify patterns, sentiment shifts,
Right.
emerging trends that might signal a buy or sell opportunity.
So it's not just about speed, it's about finding insights that humans might miss. That's pretty impressive.
But you mentioned healthcare too,
Right.
and that feels even more high stakes than the stock market.
It is, and the potential benefits are huge. Imagine a doctor who can access every piece of relevant medical research tailored to a specific patient's symptoms and history in just seconds. That's the power of NLP, sifting through mountains of data to find the needle in the haystack.
Wow, that's like having a medical library at your fingertips. But what about those times when humor is actually needed? Like, could NLP help doctors communicate more effectively with patients? Maybe even lighten the mood a bit?
That's an interesting thought. There's definitely potential there for NLP to help personalize communication, maybe even tailor explanations to a patient's personality.
Yeah. Or sense of humor. It's all about understanding the nuances of language and how it impacts human interaction.
That makes me think of those customer service chatbots we talked about earlier, the ones that are still kind of clunky and robotic. Could NLP help them become more empathetic, more human, maybe even crack a well-timed joke to diffuse a tense situation?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the areas where NLP is making huge strides. Imagine a chatbot that can not only understand your problem, but also sense your frustration level and respond accordingly. Instead of those canned responses, you'd get a more natural, empathetic conversation.
That would be a game changer for customer service. No more yelling at the screen because the bot just doesn't get it.
Right.
But let's not forget about the legal field, which sometimes can feel like it's stuck in the dark ages. You mentioned NLP could revolutionize how lawyers work. Tell me more about that.
Imagine this. Instead of spending countless hours poring over documents for a case, a lawyer could use NLP to instantly analyze contracts, legal briefs, even witness testimonies. It could identify key pieces of information, flag potential inconsistencies, and even predict how a judge might rule based on past decisions.
So it's like having a legal super sleuth on your team. No more tedious document review, more time for strategizing,
Right.
and dare I say, cracking a few courtroom jokes.
Well, let's hope the courtroom jokes stay within appropriate boundaries. But you're right. NLP has the potential to streamline legal processes, making them more efficient and maybe even a bit more entertaining.
Okay, I'm officially sold on the power of NLP. It's like having a Swiss Army knife of language tools capable of doing everything from analyzing financial data
Hey.
to decoding medical jargon
Right.
to even potentially writing a killer stand-up routine.
You're catching on. But remember, NLP is still a relatively young field, and there are challenges to overcome. One of the biggest is ensuring that these systems are used responsibly and ethically.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
We've seen how algorithms can perpetuate biases, spread misinformation,
Yeah.
even be used for malicious purposes. How do we make sure NLP doesn't become just another tool for manipulation or harm?
It's all about being aware of the potential pitfalls and designing systems that are transparent, accountable, and aligned with human values.
Right.
For example, if we're training an NLP system to analyze legal documents, we need to make sure the data we use is representative and unbiased,
Okay.
so it doesn't perpetuate existing inequalities in the justice system.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but about how we use it. It's like giving someone a powerful tool without any safety instructions.
Right.
Things could go wrong and not in a funny way.
Exactly. We need to be thoughtful about how we integrate NLP into our lives, ensuring it's used to empower people, not exploit them.
Well said. It's a reminder that even in this age of incredible technological advancement, human judgment and ethical considerations are more important than ever.
Absolutely. Technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. And that means being mindful of the potential consequences, both positive and negative, of every new development.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits of NLP, the challenges, and the ethical considerations. But let's be honest. The thing that really fascinates me, and I'm sure our listeners too, is this idea of computers understanding humor.
I knew you'd come back to that. It's definitely one of the most intriguing aspects of NLP, this idea of machines grasping something as subjective and nuanced as humor.
Right. It makes you wonder, if a computer can get a joke, does that mean it can truly understand what it means to be human?
That's a deep question, and one that philosophers have been grappling with for centuries.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a question worth exploring, especially as NLP continues to evolve.
It does make you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If a machine can laugh, can it also cry?
Yeah.
Can it feel empathy, compassion, all those things that make us who we are?
Those are questions that go beyond the realm of computer science and into the realm of philosophy, psychology, even spirituality.
I love that. We're talking about computers understanding jokes, and we've suddenly stumbled into a philosophical debate about the nature of consciousness. That's the beauty of the deep dive, isn't it?
It is. You never know where these conversations will lead, but they always seem to end up in fascinating and unexpected places.
Well, sadly, we're approaching the end of our allotted time for this deep dive, but before we wrap things up, I have one more burning question about NLP and humor. We've talked about computers understanding humor, but what about creating it? Could NLP actually write a joke that makes us laugh?
That's the holy grail, isn't it? And it's a question that researchers are actively working on. There are already AI systems out there that can generate puns,
Anyway.
write simple jokes,
Wow.
even compose humorous poems.
Wait, seriously? Robot poets? That's both amazing and slightly terrifying. Do these AI comedians have stage fright? Can they handle hecklers?
Well, maybe not stage fright in the traditional sense, but there's definitely a challenge in getting AI to understand the context and timing of humor.
Right.
A joke that works in one setting might fall flat in another, and even the best human comedians bomb sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. So it's not just about, like, stringing together funny words.
Right.
It's about understanding the nuances of delivery, the audience, the whole social dynamic of humor.
Exactly. Humor is incredibly complex.
Oh.
It often relies on shared cultural references, social norms, even our understanding of human psychology. Getting an AI to grasp all of that is a monumental task.
It really makes you appreciate the skill of human comedians, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're not just telling jokes.
No.
They're navigating this intricate web of social cues and expectations.
They are, and that's why I think it'll be a long time before we see a robot headlining a comedy club. But who knows, maybe one day we'll have AI comedy writers collaborating with human performers to create entirely new forms of humor.
Now that's an interesting thought. AI as like a comedic muse, pushing the boundaries of what's funny. But even if AI never becomes a stand-up superstar, it's clear that NLP is already changing the world in some pretty profound ways.
It is, and it's only going to become more pervasive in our lives. Think about how personalized education could become with NLP tailoring lessons to individual learning styles.
Oh, wow.
Or how it could revolutionize accessibility for people with disabilities.
Right.
The possibilities are truly endless.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah.
We started this deep dive talking about robot comedians, and we've ended up discussing the future of education, healthcare, accessibility. It just shows how wide-reaching the impact of NLP is going to be.
It does, and I think that's what makes it so exciting, this idea that we're on the cusp of a technological revolution that has the potential to transform every aspect of our lives.
It's a revolution that's happening right now, all around us, often in ways we don't even realize. Every time we use a search engine, talk to a voice assistant,
Right.
or even just send a text message, we're interacting with NLP.
That's a great point. We're all participants in this grand experiment, whether we're aware of it or not. And that means we all have a responsibility to think critically about how this technology is being developed and used.
Absolutely. We need to be aware of the potential pitfalls, the ethical considerations, the need for transparency and accountability. We can't just blindly embrace the shiny new tech without considering the consequences.
Well said. It's like any powerful tool. It can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us as a society to ensure that NLP is used to empower people, not exploit them.
So, to our listeners out there, we leave you with this. Keep exploring the world of NLP, keep asking questions, and keep that sense of humor sharp. Who knows, your next witty remark might just inspire the next big breakthrough in comedic AI.
I wouldn't be surprised. And until next time, keep learning, keep laughing, and keep diving deep.
That's a wrap on another deep dive.